Okay, today we have with us Monica, the Spirit Queen, and I'd like to welcome her to the Dark Doorway podcast. She has some really interesting stories to tell, and also she has some misnomers she'd really love to clear up. So, Monica, how are you doing?
Good, Mark. How are you?
I can never complain. I'm always in a good mood. I don't know if that's just having positive energy or maybe I'm just weird like that.
That's a good thing. Better than having negative.
Okay. So, Monica, just for the people out there who never heard of you, why don't you give me a little bit of information about you?
Well, I'm Monica. I'm a psychic medium. I've had my gifts for, since I was in the second grade, 6-7 years old. When I first saw, an actual spirit, in the beginning I was confused. I didn't know what was going on and why I was the only one to see certain spirits. But as I got older, I got used to it and I started enhancing my gifts and looking more into, why I have these gifts, what I can do with them. I mean, I thought I was like the coolest kid growing up because I could see things that, most people around me couldn't see. And then as I got older, I started using my gifts to help others as far as doing readings, reconnecting them to their loved ones that crossed over. And then the last couple of years, I really got into it and went public with it. I had my radio show, which I'm going back to radio real soon as well. I started helping people around the world, so I went public online on social media. I have clients from around the world that contact me, so I do readings over the phone. I do readings face-to-face. And then I took it one step further, and I started doing cleansings, and I have experience in doing exorcisms, of course, with the help and guidance of professionals. They taught me how to do that, which is awesome and scary at times, but I love that rush. I just keep pushing myself forward to see, what I can do more to help people and to help the spirits and the people on earth, both sides. So I'm a busy bee.
Just to interrupt here, I want to backpedal a little bit. And when you first started to notice you had these gifts, I've always been curious personally. So in your particular case, when you have these experiences, do you actually see visions or apparitions, or is it a series of sensations or energy that you feel? Are you getting some type of psychic communication? How does that work for you?
It's a little bit of everything. Sometimes I will see mixture, like I see visions and then I can actually see, for example, if I'm doing a reading and connecting, a person to their loved one that crossed over, I can actually see that spirit. I open up the portals and I help, pull them through so I could see them. Sometimes I could smell them and sense them. A lot of times I can feel them. It just depends on the situation. Now, if I'm doing like a regular psychic reading, because there's a difference between a psychic reading and a spiritual reading. And when I'm doing a psychic reading and when people ask me questions about their financial status or, their personal life and things like that, I see visions most of the time. And what my visions tell me is, yes, go ahead and do that to a certain question they ask, if they should do this or do that. Sometimes I'll see things that I tell them, no, it's not going to go well. So, you have to take another route. So it just depends on what I'm working with and how I'm connected to the spiritual realm and just what I'm doing that it all depends on the client. What the client wants, I deliver. So it's very different. A lot of times it's connecting with the energies, and yes, it is. I see visions all the time.
So when a client comes to you, say, to connect with someone who's passed, those connections, is it something that comes natural? For example, do you have almost an immediate connection to the loved one who's passed? Do you require some type of a personal effect from the person who's passed? Or is it just the presence of the living relative that's in the room that helps you connect with the relative that has passed?
Well, it's almost instant that I'm able to connect to the spirit of the loved one that's passed. For example, I have clients that come over and we sit down, and before we sit down, the minute I shake their hand, the minute I touch them, I'm able to connect to their energy. And before the reading even starts, I'm already pulling that spirit through to start the reading. So it's almost immediately when I start my reading. Even if I'm doing it over the phone, I don't necessarily have to touch them. But the second they tell me, I want to connect with so-and-so, I'm able to pull that spirit through almost immediately.
Have any of these spirits ever told you anything about the afterlife? For example, I'm quite sure people are curious, what is it like? For them, is it just this all-encompassing feeling of love? Have you ever gotten any descriptions of what to expect?
Oh, absolutely. I get them almost all the time. If a spirit crossed through and actually went to the light where they're supposed to go, I do get this comforting feeling. I do get this feeling where they're just full of love and they're full of light, and they want the same, for their loved ones that are still on earth. There are times when a spirit is upset about something or, has some unfinished business and they're still lingering around their loved one. I do get that feeling of, discomfort or being upset or, being surrounded by darkness because they haven't been able to cross over to the light where they're supposed to go. So I can actually feel it, whether they're happy, whether they're sad. I feel their emotions. And sometimes I do get emotional as well because they allow me to feel what they're feeling at that time.
So this brings up another interesting point. You have spirits that have crossed over, and then you also have spirits that are earthbound. What would you say are the clear differences? I mean, aside from the fact that one went into the light and one didn't, and why do you think, or why have they told you that they decided to hang around?
Well, the difference with them crossing over to the light and the ones that are earthbound, the ones that are crossed over to the light, it's very positive. It's a light feeling. It's almost like they have no care in the world. So when they're talking to me, I basically do my reading the way that they talk to me. So, I'm bubbly, I'm happy, and, I know that they crossed over because they don't have that negativity around them like the spirits that are earthbound do. And the spirits that are earthbound, they have unfinished business, whether it's with a loved one, whether, for example, if a person got murdered, and they're still lingering around, their unfinished business could be, I'm looking for the person that killed me, and so I'm not going to rest until justice is served. A lot of times, I could feel that the spirit is really irritated because, they crossed over, but at that moment, there was not a portal that opened. See, what people need to understand is spirits travel through portals. They don't walk on earth like we do, like they think that we do. Spirits go through portals, and portals are basically like tunnels they travel through. And if there's not a portal at that moment when they cross over, leaving their body, they're stuck on earth. So there's a lot of different reasons why spirits get trapped on earth. And they come to people like me. I mean, I'm a spirit magnet, and so they come to people like me asking for help. Can you please open a portal and cross me over? So dealing with them and seeing them and hearing them, and then a lot of times they tell me too, they let me know, can you help me cross over because I'm stuck on earth? So there's a lot of different different situations and different ways that they let me know that they're actually earthbound and they need help crossing over, or they want to make sure their loved one is okay before they cross over. So I get, I relate the message to their loved one, and a lot of times their loved one's turned around and says, I give them the okay to cross over because I got my closure, I got my answers, I got the direct message from my loved one, so now they can cross over.
See, that actually, when you mentioned portals, one of the things that's always kind of thrown me for a loop is when investigators have captured evidence such as EVPs, or not even EVPs, just clear recordings through camera or other devices. Sometimes you hear the spirits, they might cough, or you might hear some type of breathing or a sigh. And I always find that interesting because I don't know if it's just a misconception, but the general thought is when you die, you pass on, you cross over, you move to another realm. Mm-hmm. So why would you sneeze? Why would you cough? Why would you breathe? What are your thoughts there? I mean, this is just a curiosity thing, and I think that other people have some of the same questions that I do.
Well, spirits are living beings as well. Now, what I tell everybody, and this is what I try to when I mentor them and teach them about the spiritual realm, the physical body that we have on Earth is our shell. And so once our shell is done, our spirit that's inside continues to live when it comes out of our body. Well, just because, the spirit crosses over to the spiritual realm, it doesn't mean that they don't exist anymore. They can't do the things that they continue living like they would when they're physically here on Earth. So therefore, yes, spirits still do have feelings. They do understand. They do. They are able to. They get sick. You know what I mean? They do get sick. Except the ones that are earthbound. So basically, if you're earthbound, you feel everything that you would feel when you're in your physical body. So you would sneeze. You would cough. Depending on the amount of energy that you have, you're able to open and close doors physically, you know what I mean, to travel or to walk through from one room to another in a house. They're able to pick things up and throw it. It all depends on the amount of energy that they have. But spirits do have the same abilities that we do, except that they do it in the spiritual realm.
Got it. So, one of the things I've also found interesting is you have energy that might be bound to geographical areas, whether it be a home, whether it be a piece of land. Maybe it's the site of a famous battle, like we've had many instances in during, sites where the big battles of the Civil War took place. People see apparitions, and maybe they're earthbound spirits, maybe it's just residual energy, but when you think of these locations, I know that there got to be locations you would love to travel to perform investigations and possibly see what type of energy you feel. Why don't you elaborate on that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. I have been to locations where spirits relive the same thing over and over again. Civil War, perfect example. A lot of times when cases like that, when a spirit crosses over, let's say, for example, they get stabbed or shot in the head. Those kind of spirits, they don't know that they're dead. They don't know that they crossed over. So they're going to relive the same thing over and over and over. The war is like the worst time to die because it's not like you're being punished being on Earth. It's the fact that you don't realize that you're dead. And so they continue to live, the same thing over and over again. And that's where I come in and I let them know, hey, this no longer exists. It's over. So let me help you cross over to the light where you belong. I've been I'm sorry.
When they have these things where they're sort of stuck in this type of loop. Now, does this have a lot to do with the fact that they don't perceive time in the same way that we perceive it? That they would repeat the tragic events of their death on a loop? Because
Absolutely.
because you would kind of think that they would know that they've repeated their death, 500 times over a specific span of time.
No, there is no time. Time stops completely. In that kind of situation, there is no time, there is no date, there is nothing. They're stuck in the same situation, in the same location where they got struck in the head and basically died instantly. So again, if you don't know that you're dead, you can't tell time. Time just stops. It doesn't move on. It doesn't rewind. You're stuck in the same place, in the same situation, and you just relive your death basically over and over. And
are they aware that the living are observing this?
Sometimes if you have the gifts or the ability to see spirits, yes, you will be able to see not the full war that's going on. For example, you're not going to be stuck in the middle and have all these spirits running towards you and around you, but you will see certain soldiers and certain entities around that are playing the same thing over and over again. And then sometimes, or a lot of times I should say, unless you know what you're doing, unless you have the ability to connect to a spirit directly, a certain spirit directly that you want to, if you walk up, let's say Civil War, and I've seen the show Ghost Adventures, which they've done that, and they've heard the cannonballs going off and guns and all this stuff. They can't go up to them and say, "Hey guys, enough is enough. You guys are not at war anymore. You need to move on," because they won't see us and they won't hear us. They're still stuck at that time. So you need somebody that has the ability to be able to connect to that time that it happened and let them know, "Hey, you're done. It's time to cross over." And then that's when you allow them to cross over and you open the portals. Once you open the portals, no matter what, a spirit is able to see it. So that will actually stop them from fighting, from, trying to attack each other and thinking that they're at war still, and they will go through the portal and cross over. So you kind of have to intercept in it and let them know. But you actually have to know how to do it and what to do in order to break that time frame and break through that portal, basically, to get into their realm, to let them know, "Hey, you know what? You're done. You need to cross over. The war is over."
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because when you mentioned Ghost Adventures, there seems like there's always different classifications of shows. There's a lot of them out there now. Some seem to be overhyped, and others seem to be a little bit more legitimate. And I wonder. For example, that's a perfect example. It seems like shows like Ghost Adventure, they're more interested in capturing evidence than they are in crossing over a spirit or resolving the issues that the occupants of a specific location may be having, whether it's a legitimate haunting or whether it's something demonic of nature. They seem like they're more interested in just recording video or capturing EVP. You investigate. You have a much different approach. Do you want to tell me a little bit about tell me a little bit about your investigation?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the way that I do my investigations is different than what everybody else does. Paranormal investigators usually use equipment, and I love to use the equipment. But they do it to not just show people, hey, spirits do exist, the paranormal is real, but they also do it to get answers for themselves. Now, the way that I do it is, yes, I do have some equipment. I unfortunately don't have, all the equipments that I want right now, but I do use some equipment in my videos that I do, or go, live on Periscope or my YouTube channel, to show people yes, spirits are real, the paranormal is real, and this is, they answer, directly to us. But at the same time, I use myself more than half the time, meaning, yes, the equipment is there to validate what is going on, but it also validates what I do with the spirits and how I connect with the spirits. So a lot of times the spirit will tell me one thing, but then answer my questions and things like that. And then they'll turn around and actually do a direct response, for example, to a voice recorder or my ghost radar that I use a lot. And it goes hand in hand with my work that I do. I like to use myself directly to connect with spirits. That's why a lot of my videos, you'll see that all of a sudden I'm feeling their pain of how they died, or I'm starting to get sick and my head is spinning around, and the energy and the air around me is getting really thick. And then that way I'm able to tell, hey, either this spirit is earthbound because they need help, or this is a dark entity. And that's another thing. I'm able to tell the difference between a good spirit and a dark spirit, which a lot of paranormal investigators don't, because, they don't have that ability. And that's why they use the tools that they use in order to determine, who's good and who's bad that they're communicating with. So my thing is with investigation, and I love doing it because everybody tells me too, hey, how do you do investigations that are completely different than everybody else's? Because I use myself, and I don't do rituals, I don't do seances, I don't do any of that stuff. I just basically open myself up to them, and I tell them, hey, you can use my energy, and you show me what you want to show me, you tell me what you want to tell me. And as I'm doing my investigation, directly communicating with them, they respond back to the tools that I have, which goes hand in hand with answering my questions and what I do with that. It's fun.
Now open yourself up. How dangerous is that? Because I can only see that there is a plethora of inherent risks in doing that.
It's always dangerous no matter what you do when it comes to the spiritual realm. Dealing with the spiritual realm is always dangerous because, like I always tell people, if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. You can't dabble with the spiritual realm without paying the price. And paying the price meaning getting attacked, getting upset, feeling their emotions, hearing the growls, because a lot of times I noticed, especially with the paranormal shows that I watch, without even getting touched or attacked, just the fact that they hear a growl coming up right next to them. Some people can have an instant heart attack because it's scary. You know what I mean? Especially if you don't have the knowledge or you're not expecting something to happen. The unseen is always dangerous, always dangerous. And I put myself in the middle of it because I want to let people know. I want to educate people to let them know. And this is what people ask me. Why do you always say this? If you don't want to get burned, don't play with fire. And that's exactly how it is playing with the spiritual realm. It's not a joke. It's not a game. If you don't know what you're getting yourself into, you can have attachments. You can have sleep paralysis, which is connected to demonic attacks in bed. You can actually put your loved ones' lives in danger that live with you at the same time. Because once you have an attachment coming with you into your home, they have the ability to attack everybody else, not just you. So it's always, always, always dangerous. And one advice I'm going to give to everybody that's dabbling with the spiritual realm, never, ever put your guard down. The minute you put your guard down, that's it. The spirits know that, they feel that, and they have every ability to come after you.
Yeah, I've seen so many shows, and it seems that you see a common theme on some of the more violent or some of the more dark hauntings, mm-hmm. where either someone in the house or who's currently there or some previous occupant decided to dabble in the occult. Mm-hmm. And it just seems that that's just a totally bad idea any way you look at it. So the fact that some people would either out of curiosity or some misguided sense that they're going to be empowered in some way, that they they try to call up these dark entities thinking that there will be some reward for their actions. And usually it ends up very badly. It ends up with them having to leave the location, and the next homeowner inherits the dark legacy that they left behind.
Right. Absolutely. Anytime you dabble with the dark side, excuse me, you are leaving portals open. Now, like I said, this is another great example with portals. Once you open a portal, it invites any and all spirits to come through, good and bad. So, hello?
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So when you have, when you do satanic rituals, when you open these portals and you think it's fun to play with these spirits, once you move, it doesn't mean that the spirits are gone. Two things can happen. Number one, that entity can connect themselves to you and attach themselves to you. So you can move, hundreds to thousands of miles away. You will still have that attachment. And then a second thing would happen is, like you said, the new occupants of the home are going to be the ones that are going to get affected. And again, that's when I come in and I close all, I release or basically cleanse the house and get rid of those entities and close the portals. Unless the portals are closed, there's going to be more. No matter how many spirits you get rid of, more are going to come. And once one portal is open, they're able to open other portals themselves because of that one that's already open there.
Are there any instances where the portal simply cannot be closed, or the level of effort required to close that portal it's probably more dangerous to attempt to versus just leaving the area, leaving the house, leaving that geographical location? Are there any situations where that would occur?
Well, portals can always be closed. There is, no matter what it takes, portals can always be closed. As far as how long it takes to close it, who you need to call, maybe a priest, a medium, a shaman, it doesn't matter how many people come in, they will close it, and it doesn't matter how long it takes, a portal can be closed. Now, a lot of times people don't want to deal with that because it's so much. It takes so much energy, takes so much time. And the level of it being dangerous is very, very high. And a lot of times people do get hurt in the process. Now, if you don't care about it and you say, you know what, I don't care what it takes. For example, a family that moves into a home that's already got portals open and then they're being haunted by these demonic entities, to their no fault at all, they have no resources to move. They can't move. So they're going to try anything and everything, no matter what it takes, to get rid of these entities and close the portals. And then that's when we come in and we fight. It's basically a war, a spiritual war between them and us. And yes, there's a chance that we get hurt. Yes, there's a chance we get, attacked and everything that comes with it. But a portal can always be closed, no matter what. I mean, I've heard people say, well, you haven't tried hard enough. And I hate to say that. It can always be closed. You just have to put in 110% to make sure that it's done correctly and they're not able to open those portals again.
Now, you're a professional,
yes,
which was one of the reasons why I reached out. You are very knowledgeable. You didn't stumble over any of your information, and you're experienced. Now, there are people that are going through things right now, right this minute, who may find the information that you're putting out there very interesting and helpful. Mm-hmm. But one of the questions that I have is, if someone is in distress, how do they know that they're reaching out to the right person? Because there are a lot of people out there that seem to offer these services, but not all of them are genuine or experienced or who have true intent. So for someone who's seeking help, maybe you have some suggestions on what they can do. Maybe they can just come to you I know that you have your social media presence, your website, which just for the record is going to be in the show notes of this podcast if anyone is looking to reach out to Monica for assistance. But do you have any suggestions that people might want to adhere to make sure that they're not being swindled?
Yes. Number one, whoever that you decide to have come and help you guys, you need to do a research on that individual. And don't just pick one person to do a research on. I would pick 10. And then I would start eliminating one by one. And eliminating meaning the key things to look into is the type of work the person does. This person cannot have fear, because spirits, entities, the dark ones, they feed off of that fear. So if you have fear and you throw yourself into the wolves, they're going to eat you alive. So anything that you try is not going to work. So make sure the person doesn't have fear when it comes to that. Make sure that person has all the proper tools to work with. Now, for example, when I close the portals and I get rid of, the demons and I do the cleansing, I have my tools that I work with. I bring along my incenses, my candles, everything that I need to help create the strong energy that I need to be more powerful than the entities there. So I'll be able to get rid of them. Look at the passion that they have. Look how long they've been doing this. Look at their credibility. Look at their, I'm not saying popularity, but as far as, the testimonials, and see if what others say about this person. Do a thorough research on people before you pick that individual to come and help you. And if you do after all that, and if it doesn't help, then you can ask, somebody else or continue to look for somebody else. And then just like you said, Mark, of course me, I travel all the time. So if you guys can't find somebody in your hometown, feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to help you no matter what. This is my passion. This is what I love to do. I've been around spirits all my life, and I basically know them inside and out. I know what their next movement's going to be before they do it, and this is what my clients tell me all the time, when I give them some advice or suggestions, and they come back and they say, oh my God, everything that you said happened. And I said, because I know the spiritual realm. So do your research and make sure that you pick the right person. And it's okay if you don't. It's not the end of the world. There's always people out there, like me, that are willing to jump in and, help out as much as they can. And they won't stop. Pick somebody that has the passion that's not going to stop until they get the job done. Don't pick somebody that's going to do a half job and then to say that you're okay, because it's not. Make sure that they know what they're talking about, and feel free to interview them and question them. Drill them if you have to. If they know the right answers, then you got the right person.
You almost need a Yelp or Home Advisor with some, verified reviews. Yeah, I do feel for the people that they go to these false prophets, so to say, and the problems that cause them to go to the person in the first place still exist. The spirit hasn't left, and the activities only intensified, and they just received a bunch of bad advice in the meantime, and they're still being tormented. Their families are still going through some type of horror in their home. And that home is supposed to be the one place where you find solace, where you find comfort, you feel safe. So to go through these things in your own home is definitely got to be a nightmare, a wide awake nightmare. So have you ever had any personal experiences, or has it all been along the lines of investigations for clients?
Oh my gosh, I did have a personal experience. We moved a couple of years ago into this beautiful home that we just, we took over the payments, we took over the house, everything, because the previous owners just up and left. And the day of the move-in, we had, beautiful big walk-in closets, 2-story home. We walk in, and inside my closet, as I'm putting things away, I find some satanic ritual books. And at first I didn't really think anything of it. So I just, put it away, just pushed it to the side. Shortly after we moved in, certain things started happening. And me having kids, I didn't really pay attention that much, at my house, because I didn't think that anything was going to happen. And this was a fairly brand new home that was built. The previous owners didn't live there that long. So I didn't really think of anything. I was like, well, maybe they can, make the mortgage payments or anything like that or whatever. So I thought it was more like financial reasons why they moved. Well, come to find out, after these activities started happening in our home, I started doing my own reading and looked into it, and come to find out that one of the family members that lived there before was dabbling with the dark side. So they were doing satanic rituals and this and that. And then as I did more research on my own, there were 6 portals that were open. 6 portals, and there were over 30 dark entities in our home. And again, like I said, it's a process to close these portals. They can open it as quickly as you close it, but it does take time. It does take process. And that's one thing I did not have, because I just had a baby, my 3rd child, and I did not have time to deal with it. My husband, in the process, did get possessed. He got possessed. And again, you're not expecting that to happen in your own home. And so he got possessed, and he tried to attack me. And so I was able, thank God, with my experience with the exorcism and everything, I was able to basically get that spirit out of him and get it out of my house. And then my kids, my little girls, would wake up with bruise marks on their arms, on their legs. So I looked into it, and my kids were getting attacked at night as well. As I started closing the portals, more started opening up, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So again, I did the same thing that the first family did. We just up and left. There was just so much activity. In fact, I kind of joked around a couple of times with my husband, saying when he was at work and I was home with the kids, things, especially my kids' toys in the living room, would get thrown towards me or at me when I would be in the kitchen or in the dining room. And a couple of times I joked with my husband and I said, you know what? I think I'm just going to hold an umbrella from now on in the house. So if they try to throw something at me, it's not going to hit me. My dad actually visited us for a couple of weeks, and he got up and left, and he's like, I'm not staying here anymore. There's weird things that are going on. So my dad actually experienced things too. My kids used to see dark shadows all the time. They used to hear growling all the time, lights coming on and off, doors. I mean, when you talk about poltergeist activity, my house was dead on the spot with that. In fact, intensified by 10 times more because of the amount of portals that were open and the amount of demons that kept pouring in. The more I would kick them out, the more they would come in. And it just came to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. You know what I mean? I mean, the fact that I have my kids, huh?
And you had a new baby and you didn't want to be in the Grand Central Station.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So at that point, it's time to leave.
Right. And, I put my kids first all the time. And, I say, I do this for a living and I help people out and families out all the time. It was time for me to think about my family at that moment. And I said, let's get the hell out of here. We're going to go somewhere better. That way I don't have to worry about my kids and I can continue to do my work. But it was really hard for me to do work when I knew that those kind of activities were happening in my own home. And it was really bad. We left, and we never looked back. Never look back.
In a case like that, I definitely don't blame you. And that's the key. When you have your own family and your kids involved, you have a newborn in the house, you could sit there and you could fight it, but you're putting your family at risk in the middle of a battle zone. And at this point, it is time to step back and move on.
Absolutely.
I would, one of the things that I really like, like I said, there's a lot of paranormal shows out there. Mm-hmm. And, I see I see a TV show in the making when it comes to you and the things that you do, because right now there's a lot of investigators out there, but there aren't too many people who try to actually resolve the problem. More people are focused on gathering evidence than they are making the problem go away. Right. So they go to a location, they're there for a few hours, a couple of days, maybe, and there's only a limited amount of verified or valid information that you can get from that site if you're not spending any significant time at that location. So, there's a lot of glamour and a lot of glitz to try to make things to scoot past the boring part. Right. Because it might take several weeks of investigation to really get some solid evidence, and a few days are just not enough. So I'd love to see this in a TV show. Have you ever thought about maybe putting together a crew and getting a production team together and maybe making a pitch yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I've been thinking about it for a while now. I want to do a paranormal show, but the thoughts that I have, the ideas that I have is completely different than the shows that are airing, at this moment. And, I have seen a couple of psychics coming in and out and, talking about, or mediums, talking about the spirits and the activities and who's there and who's not. And then in the end, they just leave. So what happens? What happens during an investigation? Spirits, the dark ones, don't like anybody doing investigations. That antagonizes them. So what these people are doing is they're antagonizing these spirits, especially if they're going into somebody's home, not just like a regular abandoned location, which, I'm not too concerned about because they can't attack anybody. They're stuck at that location. But what if they go to somebody's home that I've seen and then antagonize these spirits by using the spirit box, by, opening more portals and doing the Ouija board sessions right in the center of all the problem that's going on. And then after they gather all the evidence, and then, the psychic medium comes in and talks about it and this and that, and then they leave. So then what happens? Not only are these families in these homes are being haunted, but at the same time, you just antagonize them. You intensified the danger that they're in as it is by 100, not even 10, by 100. So now these families are being tormented more. I'm sorry?
So they basically went in there and poked them with a stick and then left.
Poked them with the stick, put a shotgun to their head and threaten them, and you know what I mean? Throw stones at them, anything, you name it, they do it. And that's it. They go home free. They make their money. They make their show. They have collected the evidence that everybody's looking for. And then what? That's not the end. When you're dabbling with the spiritual realm, you need to know what you're doing. If you want to mess with these spirits, then you need to prepare to clean up your mess. And I haven't seen a show yet that actually cleaned up their mess. There is a couple, I think there's only one show that I've seen where they bring these psychic mediums in and supposedly they want to help these people. But you know what? I haven't seen the end results of them. I have not. If you're going to do a show where you're going to help people, we want to see the end results. And that's where I want to come in.
We want to know how it turned up after these folks came in and tried to cleanse the area. How successful was it?
I'm sorry, the what? What happened?
When these folks come in to cleanse the area, you want to know how successful was it?
Exactly.
What was the overall outcome?
Exactly. Yeah. You want to go back 3 months later, 6 months later, even a couple of weeks later. because it doesn't take that long for the entities, after you cleanse and after you close the portals, it doesn't take that long for the entities to go away and for the families to actually see the difference in their house, to feel fresh air, for not to have the poltergeist activities anymore, not to get attacked in attachments and hear the growls and, getting attacked at night or anything like that. So you want to go back and actually interview the family a couple of weeks later and ask them, hey, what happened? Is everything better now? And if it's not, sometimes it takes more than once to go back and do it. So if it doesn't work the first time, don't be lazy. Go back again and do what you did until the job is done. But don't do, a half job and then go home and say, well, I did my job, I'm okay with it. No, you need to help them out. If you want to help them out, you put yourself in that situation, then you need to deliver what you promised people.
Exactly. So, I like I said, I'm going back to the whole thing about a show here. I definitely want to see this happen. So I'm going to make sure that I put all of the links to your bio, your site on the show notes. If you have any information about potential investors or people that are looking to get involved in making this whole thing come to fruition, I'm all for it. So, I will be right behind you, because I really want to see something like this come to television. I think you would have an awesome show. I think you would have some awesome stories to tell, some really good information, and it would help people other than the things that are just out there for sheer entertainment purposes. So as we're about to wrap this up, I would love to know, do you have any final thoughts that you might want to put out to the listeners out there that have heard this interview and obviously been impressed like I was?
Well, absolutely. Like I said, if you want to dabble with the spiritual realm, there's mentors like me out there. If you feel like you have the ability and the gift to see spirits, hear them, or even feel their energies around you, and you want to enhance them, I'll be happy to do it. If you want to develop these gifts and the abilities and start from zero, then that's what I'm here for as well. If you want to, a mentor to walk you through it and to basically be your teacher and let you know, hey, this is what you can do, and I'll be your guide, and whatever you want to call me, I will be there to help you. As far as cleansing homes, I'm here to help cleanse homes. As far as readings, if you want to connect with the loved one, I'm here. I have done live readings on my show. See, this is another thing where I have seen, all the paranormal shows and all these psychics that come in and all this stuff, or just even regular psychic show. There is no proof that not any, but most of the psychics that have their show, that it's real, because it's not done live. And that's where, I'll be